Introductions first. So my name's Dave Wilson. Since 2017, I've been an Ordnance Survey Get Outside champion, which basically means I champion the outdoors. I've always been a good advocate and ambassador for the outdoors, and specifically the benefits of walking. Over the years, I've walked and ran thousands and thousands of miles in all sorts of places. And as I say, I'm a big advocate for the benefits specifically of walking. I'll go through all sorts of things about exercise and all that kind of thing, but I think walking has a special place in terms of what it can do for us in terms of looking after ourselves. I'd just like to highlight the importance of walking today, but maybe it's not quite the aspect of it that you would usually expect. As you can see from the headline, we're looking at walking to well-being or for well-being, but specifically this Latin title of Solvitur Ambulando, which means it is solved by walking. Off we go now. Hopefully you can see that full screen now. And as I was saying, we're up onto the wall in this section of Hadrian's Wall path. And the plan behind this is to really get an idea behind the benefits of walking and this phrase Solvitur Ambulando. So the phrase itself is Latin and it means it is solved by walking. And it's a very sort of generalized and simplistic thing to announce that everything can be solved by walking, because I'm sure we're aware that not everything can. But in reality, it's amazing how many things can be solved by the simple practice of walking. And it's easy as well when we talk about walking to talk about the physical stuff. So the whole strong glutes, slim legs, tight core, all these kind of things. But one of the most important parts of the body that we often forget about with walking and exercise is the 3-pound, easily tired machine inside our heads, which is the brain. And this is probably one of the things that benefits most from the simple practice of walking. Walking is probably the slowest form of exercise or transport that we're going to engage in, but there's a real positive aspect to that. Walking is a slower, more relaxed and more thoughtful process than perhaps running or cycling or something like that. It gives us that passive exercise where we can walk and let our minds drift without too much thought. So obviously if we were walking along this path now, potentially we'd be concentrating on what's underfoot, what's at our sides, where's the wind coming from, you know, is it going to rain off to the right hand side here, am I far enough away from the edge? And all of these aspects of the walk or the practice of walking is a distraction to our mind. So we might start to walk with our mind full of issues, concerns, worries and everything like that, but once we actually begin, the subconscious and subconscious thoughts that we have about just the actual practice of walking begins to allow our mind to rest in respect to the problems that we're having. It takes our minds away and serves as a positive mental distraction. So by allowing our minds to drift, all obviously while still concentrating on walking, we're allowing our brains to process things better than if we were just sat focused on that issue. And this isn't always about saying I'm going to go and walk for days, not even hours necessarily. This can be a short period of time just to get that aspect of allowing our minds to drift. Because the distraction of walking, and specifically walking in nature, as we're seeing on the video, it allows our minds the freedom and most importantly, the clarity to rest. This is similar to meditation. Now, in meditation, people again can spend varying lengths of time to meditate. It does require quite often a level of mental discipline. It requires the right environment sometimes. But what we often forget about walking is that it's a form of meditation in itself. A walk is an easy and effective way to distract our mind, and it gives us the time and space to think. And it brings some silence, it brings a lot of silence quite often to what we all have, which is very busy minds in this day and age. It allows us to acknowledge what's bothering us, and again, that could be consciously or subconsciously. Sometimes the simple practice of walking allows our minds to drift to a point where at some point during the walk, you'll hear people say about, you know, when things click in their brain, all of a sudden the problem that you had, you know, a solution just clicks in your head. It ensures that we don't overthink matters and often give them a better perspective. So whether it's walking through a forest, alongside water, or on a mountain or crag top like we are now, there's great benefits to the health and well-being for us. One of the other big things with walking that I'm a big advocate of. I take people on group walks, and the benefit of having somebody take you on a group walk means you don't have to think about potentially where you're going, and what you're doing. And what this gives quite often is, and it sounds bad, is an aimless walk. This is actually very important. Quite often just go out without any purpose whatsoever. So don't start attaching things like exercise to it. Just go out just to be outside and just to have that moment to yourself. Just go where it seems right. You don't always have to follow a path. You don't always have to say, I'm going to walk to such and such a place and back. Sometimes it is just that practice of getting outside, and you don't really have to get anywhere fast or further or anything like that. And it isn't always about the step count, as we've already said. It's not always about the big ticket things or giving the big purpose or anything. It can be something as simple as just getting out your front door for 5 minutes of fresh air, or 5 minutes just away from the day-to-day distractions that we all have. But what can we actually do in practical terms to improve the well-being through walking? Well, firstly, the key thing is just to get moving. Get moving outside in our own gardens, yards, in green spaces, natural environment, wherever it may be. You'll find it yourself if you start doing it on a regular basis, the types of places where these improvements and where you do feel at your best. Don't see what you're doing walking as exercise or attach a big title to it. Begin to view walking differently. Begin to see it just as an opportunity to give yourself to walk, to rest your mind, to detach the purpose from it. So quite often you'll hear the whole thing about, well, don't take the car on the school run or get off the bus one stop early from work or anything. I'd start to detach the purpose to things and start to attach the benefits to it. So the reasons that you're doing it is to give yourself some free time, to give your brain a little bit of downtime, to give yourself some time to think. So start attaching all these benefits as opposed to attaching the purpose to it. And begin to explore what you can bring to the walk to improve it. So this might be the length of walk, so walking longer makes you feel better potentially, the intensity, how fast you walk, where you're going, or what you might see. So making it something where you'd like to go and see something again. That might be a waterfall, a tree, as we're about to see when we turn around. So it's simple things like that and simple tricks that we can incorporate just to basically bring the well-being benefits to walking. And even if it is something as simple as getting off the bus to stop early for work or getting out of the car somewhere and walking somewhere different, there's simple things we can do even in an urban environment or near our houses to improve it. So this might be walking on the grass instead of the tarmac. And it sounds like a simple thing, but it does start to bring the benefits too. So walking on grass instead of tarmac, walking through trees instead of a roadside, so a little diversion. Walking through some trees instead of a roadside and just paying attention to those trees, being distracted by them. Finding a particular bench that you like to walk to and sit and have 1, 2, 3, 5, 10 minutes to yourself, and actually making a point of knowing that that's time for yourself. Or maybe it's just as simple as walking through a street near your house where the gardens are lovely, the trees are in bloom, somebody's got a flower that makes the street smell nice or something like that, and start to actually consciously attach good feelings to the practice of walking and the practice of these things that are associated with your own self-care and well-being. Away from all that, it can be the bigger stuff. So it's not always about just the small details like I've gone through there. It can be the bigger stuff. It can be the planning of, walking Hadrian's Wall or climbing a mountain and all that kind of thing. But I think the key thing here is about busy lives, about busy minds, and about people recognizing the benefits of walking and the practices that they can bring into walking by understanding what the mental benefits are. Because for too long, I think we've focused on the physical benefits, and now we need to just start moving towards the more mental aspects to it, because the two work in synergy together. A healthy mind brings a healthy body, and a healthy body brings a healthy mind.